Season 17 of Overwatch 2 just started, and it brings a ton of changes. Grab a drink and let's have a look. This is going to be a pretty lengthy video. The seasonal update came with quite a lot of content, both for the core game mode and for Stadium. There's maps, heroes, general changes, cosmetics, and of course balancing changes. A video with all of the cosmetics is actually going up on my channel a little bit after this one, so go have a look. There's actually a few surprising items in there. Now in this video I'm going to focus on the balancing changes, both for the core game mode and for Stadium. There's also a few general changes, like there's improvements to the endorsement system. There's map voting, but I'm going to make separate videos on all that later, so make sure to subscribe. Let's start out with the changes in the normal core game modes. And first off, there's a general balancing change. The damage roll passive healing reduction was increased from 25% to 30%, and the base health regeneration timer increased from 5 to 6 seconds. Alec Ken already teased these in a recent stream that they did. They are meant to lessen the impact of healing, especially kind of the sustain. But let's have a look at the more hero-specific changes. Junker Queen. Commanding Shout. The Junker Queen overhealth increased from 175 to 200. Allied overhealth increased from 50 to 75. Duration for self reduced from 5 to 4 seconds. Allied duration increased from 3 to 4 seconds. They have been going back and forth on this whole thing ever since the Junker Queen was released. But in general, the goal is to give her more of a group utility, which I think is a good idea. I mean, she is the queen, she's supposed to lead. That's where she shines. Maga, Berserker. The Berserker passive overhealth conversion rate increased from 40 to 50%. This is actually a reversal of a previous nerf that they did. Now we've seen that going back and forth too. Ramata, Nanite Repair perk. The healing per second increased from 50 to 75. A perk buff. More healing while standing in his own vortex. Not bad. Zaya, Spotter perk. Movement speed increased from 15 to 25%. A Graviton Crush perk. The damage dealt over time increased from 30 to 40% of max health. Another perk buff. If she bobbles a friendly target, they'll run a little faster. And there will be a little more crushing going on in the Graviton. I like that perk. I'm happy with that change. Bastion. The model and hit volume size reduced by 10%. This is the infamous size change for Bastion. The unique attempt at raising his survivability. We'll see how this is going to work out, but you gotta hand it to them. That is an interesting way of balancing a hero. Echo. Try shot. The spread was decreased from 1.4 to 1.1 degrees. I feel like they took a bit of inspiration from their own April Fool's mode where they swapped the try shot with the sticky bombs. The sticky bombs had less of a spread, so that proved that she does have a lot of use on the longer distance. By this change, they're actually kind of making that happen without the annoyance of the sticky bombs. That was such a pain in the ass. Sorry, pain in the ass. Fixed it. Farah, Helix Shields perk. Shield health regeneration triggers when landing direct hits with rockets. Alright, so they're adding something to that minor perk that is very skill-based. I like that. I like the idea that you can regenerate your shield by just hitting your targets. Nice. Reaper, Hellfire Shotguns. The damage per pellet was increased from 5.4 to 5.75. That is a straight-out buff, plain and simple. And with some great timing because I'm planning to play a lot more Reaper in Season 17. I need to get use out of those mythic weapon skins I'm going to get. They look amazing. Yeah, check out the other video. Seriously. Soldier 76, Stim Pack perk. On PC platforms, Stim Pack default button changed from next weapon to equip weapon 1. Okay. Tracer, Pulse Pistol. The damage increased from 5.5 to 6. Yeah, that's the same deal as with Reaper, except for the fact I won't be playing Tracer. No, thank you. Venture, Smart Excavator. Recovery time reduced from 0.7 to 0.6 seconds. There you go. Life Reaver, Cleansing Grasp perk. Life Grip cooldown is reduced by 4 seconds if a debuff is cleansed. Alright, that is a nice buff to a somewhat underused perk. 4 seconds? That is huge. I think in some cases, where you have an Ashe in the enemy team or whatever, that is going to become a must pick. Lucio, Crossfade. The base healing increased from 16 to 20 health per second. Oh yeah, Lucio buff. On healing. Yeah, I'll take it. Moira, Biotic Grasp. Healing per second increased from 70 to 80. Wait, what? Moira can heal? Zenyatta, Duality perk. Increased converted damage from 30 to 40%. Nice, I use that perk pretty often. I'll take it. But alright, those were all the changes for the core game mode. The list is not that lengthy. It's a bit of a smaller update, especially since it is a season release. But I think this might be the silence before the storm, so to speak. I do feel like the mid-year update, Season 18, which is always a big one, is going to include some big balancing changes. So brace yourselves. Now, for Stadium, it's a different story. There's a lot to talk about. First off, they added 3 new heroes. Sigma, Junkrat, Zenyatta. We've talked plenty about that. I'm going to post breakdown videos of all their powers and their items in the coming hours and days, so make sure to subscribe because those are coming very soon. There's also 2 new maps that were added. Esperanza as a push map and the volcano part of Samoa. All of the ranks were reset to Rookie 1. We're all starting over again. There's new rewards, but you can see those in the other video. Stadium Forge was added, where you can actually save and share some of your favorite builds. And on top of that, they added quite a few new example builds. Stadium is now in the custom games, and the custom games are cross-platform, so if you have friends, give them a call. And later in the season, we're going to be able to complete our drives in Stadium. There's a lot of changes, including pages upon pages of balancing notes. Let's get started. Diva, Mecha Punch. The boost elimination also resets the cooldown of boosters. During boosters, Quick Melee now gains 50% attack speed instead of 75% damage. Dayun, Detonator, now shows danger warning sign to the enemy if the enemy is within the blast radius. Decrease the radius to 100% down from 200%. Nanocola Nitrous, increase the health stat to 50 up from 25. And they removed the stat, the health increased by 5%. I'm going to be honest, I'm not sure what is happening here. Diva is by far the most underwhelming tank to play in Stadium right now. She's the most difficult to make work. I don't think these changes are going to help her. Now, I do have to add that they said in the notes that they have some plans in a future update for Diva, so we'll see. The Junker Queen, let's go win. Decrease the cooldown reduction to 50% down from 100%. Cut 'em Gracie, increase the duration of cooldown to 2 seconds per enemy hit, up from 1 second. Overall, this might feel like maybe a little bit of a nerf, but don't forget that she also had all of those general changes applied, so I think she's going to be fine. I think she's actually going to be good. Orisa, Symphonic Spear, they added the stat, 25 health. Arc Finder, added the stat, 5% cooldown reduction. Alright, some buffs for 2 of her items, cool. But now we got a big one. Reinhardt, Impact Burst, now only damages other enemies around primary target. Explosion damage increased to 30% of the Fire Strike damage, up from 15. Magma Strike. The Trail of Lava now triggers on every second Fire Strike instead of every second Fire Strike cast within 2 seconds. Chimera's Maw. The rarity changed to Epic from Rare. Added 25% Fire Strike projectile speed and added for each additional enemy Fire Strike damages beyond the initial target, reduce the Fire Strike cooldown by 5%. Rocket Strike was removed. Wilhelmwagen was changed to an Epic survival item, down from a power. That's the first. Added 50 armor, and it costs 11,000 cash. And they removed the U-heal for 5% of the damage it mitigates. And Fusion Generator, changed to a power. It used to be a survival item. The barrier field health increase now only increases from bonus max life. The barrier field health scaling increased to 250%, up from 100%. To me, my friends, increase the healing based on max life to 5%. That is a huge list, and we see a swap from power to item and item to power. Interesting. Now they're trying to kind of lower the single target impact of the Fire Strike build, while also buffing the barrier builds, but I don't know. We'll see how that works out. Zarya, a general thing. Each barrier can only grant a maximum of 45 energy regardless of barrier health. And then the barrier benefits power. Increase the overhealth based on remaining barrier health to 100%, up from 50. Duration reduced to 2 seconds, down from 3 seconds. Containment Shield. Removed the barrier heals 20 life increased by energy and added the barrier heals target for 5% of your max life every 1 second. Fusion Field. Added 25 reduced maximum energy gain. Life Lift. The bonus max life increase now only increases from max life added from items. Increase the barrier health scaling to 50% of your bonus max life from items, up from 25%. No limits. The maximum energy decreased to 125, down from 150. Volskaya Vortex. Fixed an issue where the Vortex from Volskaya Vortex didn't grant ultimate charge. The damage was reduced to 80, down from 100. Bigger Beam. Cost increased to 12,000 cash, up from 11,000. Superconductor. Removed the increased barrier duration, but added after particle barrier is destroyed or expires, gain decayed overhealth equal to 50% of the damage mitigated during particle barrier. Link's data drive. Removed the using projected barrier on an ally refunds 20% of the cooldown and added restore your life equal to 30% of damage mitigated by projected barrier. Whew, that was a feisty one. I guess Saya just saw the list of changes Reinhardt got and she was like, hold my vodka. But it all kind of comes down to the fact that her bubbles were charging her too fast in Stadium. We've all seen it happen, where Isaiah will just kind of go to 100 or above within the first 3 seconds of the game. And then they zap the backline like they're puny capitalist insects. Sorry. I do have to say though, I'm starting to feel like it becomes a little more difficult to read what exactly is happening because they're making these exceptions. Like you only get gain from that max life that is added to the items. I don't know. It is going to become more difficult to read. We'll see. Ash, the Bob Jr. Decreased the duration to 10 seconds, down from 20. Silver Spurs. Increased the duration to 5 seconds, up from 3 seconds. Now reloads 25% of max ammo on Coach Conyos. Reload therapy. No longer generates currency. Mini Bob is getting slapped. But let's be honest, 20 seconds was way too long. Cassidy. Fan the Hammer. Only in the Stadium mode after the 6th shot, the weapon spread is increased. Dead Man Walking. The bonus ammo is now gained on critical final blow. Added the max cap of bonus ammo set to 4. Just roll with it. Decreased the damage reduction to 25%, down from 50%. Total damage reduction is now 75% during the combat roll. Like, the whole roll and fan the hammer thing was becoming ridiculous, so they're trying to tackle that. They want Cassidy to return to his focus to targets that are a little more up close. Freya. They increased the cash income from damage and healing by 13.3%. Lilfalde. Increased the damage to 50% reduced damage, up from 60 reduced damage. Added 25% reduced radius on bola shots fired by Lilfalde. The VFX reduced to reduce the visual noise of bola shots fired by Lilfalde. Updated the tooltip to reflect earlier changes. Hunter's Mark. Added 5% weapon power, and the bonus cash on eliminating a target with a bounty of 750 or more increased to 350, up from 250. It seems that the series of nerfs that they have done to her core kit and her Stadium kit were starting to wear her down, so they're bumping her up a little bit. Genji, Hidden Blade, reduced the quick melee damage to 15 down from 25. Increased the melee lifesteal to 60% up from 50%. Ambusher Optics, increased the cost to 11,000 cash up from 10,000 cash. Laceration, increased the damage over time to 35% of Swift Strike's damage up from 25%. The fixed an issue where his power did not benefit from ability lifesteal. Clean Sweep, increased the ability power to 15% up from 10%. Yeah, the backstab build was a little too dominant, consistent, and they want alternatives to be a valid option too. Now, they do have bigger plans for Genji in a future update. May, Avalanche was removed. Cold Blaster is a new power they added. Endothermic Blaster's primary fire does 20% increased damage to enemies within Blizzard. Permafrost, increased mace size with 15% when above 30% ability power. Himalayan Hat, increased the attack speed to 15% up from 10%. According to the patch notes, these changes are meant to make her more intuitive to both play but also to play against her. I mean, come on. Playing against the demon is never going to feel intuitive. Reaper, Strangle Step, now also has a 30% Shadow Step cast speed. Re-Renewal, reduced the healing to 7% down from 10%. Night Creeper, moved to rare, down from epic, and no longer has a 30% Shadow Step cast speed. The cost is now 3,750 cash. It now provides 5% weapon power, 5% move speed, and after using an ability, nearby enemies are revealed to you for 3 seconds. Crowd Control, moved to rare, down from epic. Replace the ability power stat with 10% ability lifesteal. Now grants 4% ability power per target, down from 5%, and the cost is now 4,000 cash. Fixed a bug where the effect of this item was not affecting Dead Blossoms triggered by Dead Step. Wreath of Ruin. Fixed a bug where the move speed increased was not affecting Dead Blossoms triggered by Dead Step. Crimson Cloak. Moved from survival items to ability items, and changed the effects to when Dead Blossom starts, gain overhealth equal to 5% of your max life for each enemy within its range. They reduced the cost to 9,500 cash. Devastation. Replace the ability lifesteal stat with 25 health. Reduced the effect cap to 75 health, down from 100. And the cost was reduced from 3,750, down from 4,000. Whew. All this on top of his core changes? Uh-oh. What the hell? Soldier 76. Frontline. Overhealth now stacks when multiple biotic fields are active at once. Overhealth based on max life reduced to 25%, down from 30%. I've seen a lot of soldiers experiment with this kind of healing build, not with the greatest success. This might actually help a little bit. Ana, double dosage. Redesigned to work only on enemies and decreased the cooldown to 30%, down from 35%. Well, it turns out that we were using that item wrong. Juno, Lock on shield. Change the item category from ability to survival. Change the item stats from 10% ability power to 25 health. Decrease the overhealth's scalar to 25%, down from 50%. Boosted rockets. Change the item rarity from rare to epic. Change the item price from 4,000 to 12,000. Updated item effect. During glide boost, gain 10% damage reduction. Medicinal missiles. Remove the additional 30 healing. It seems that they're out to nerf the torpedo build, and they hope to make others more viable, but I don't know, guys. I think a lot of us like torpedoes. Without torpedoes, Juno doesn't really feel like Juno in my opinion. And I think we're going to see a lot more people pick Kiriko instead of Juno. And while we're talking about her, Kiriko. The Soothing Step. Increased healing to 120 up from 80. Replace the step from 10% ability power to 10% cooldown reduction. Triple Thread. Spread reduced by 50%. Self-care. Redesigned to when you use healing Ofuda. Each Ofuda thrown heals you for 3% of max life. See what I mean? I think she's going to be the better choice. Lucio. Crowd Pleaser. Healing adjusted from 100% of crossfade healing to 20 healing that is doubled while Amp It Up is active. Vivace. Remove the while you are wall riding. Soundwave cooldown refreshes 25% faster and adds 1 max ammo every second until you reload. Instead, they added every 1 second wall riding, you gain 3% move speed and 1.5% attack speed for 5 seconds, stacking up to 10 times. Sonic Boom. Healing now also triggers on quick melee damage. And the final list are all general item changes, and there are quite a few of them, so hold on to your hats. First off, they added a few new items. Let's have a look. Aerial Distressor, which is an epic general weapon item, gives you 25 shield, 10% attack speed. Weapon hits to airborne enemies deal 25% bonus damage over 3 seconds. This one will cost 10,000 cash. Then there's Overdrive Core, an epic general survival item. 25 shields, 10% weapon power, and once per life. If you take damage that would reduce you below 30% of max life, you first gain 300 decaying overhealth. This one will cost 10,000. Sonic Recharge, 25 shield, 10% ability power. Passive life regeneration can overheal up to 75 for 9,500 cash. Vitality Amplifier, a rare general ability item, 25 shield, 10% ability lifesteal. While you are above 80% life, gain 10% ability power, and it will cost 4,500 cash. Emergency Chip, a rare general weapon item, 25 shield, 5% weapon power. While you are below 150 life, gain 50% weapon lifesteal. It will cost 4,500 cash. And then there's some changes to old items. Electrolytes, cost reduced to 1,000 cash, down from 1,500 cash. Iron Eyes, cost reduced to 4,000 cash, down from 4,500 cash. Salvaged Slugs, cost reduced to 9,000, down from 9,500 cash. Cushion Padding, cost reduced to 3,750, down from 4,000 cash. BioLight Overflow, overhealth increased to 75, up from 50. Divine Intervention, the life restored from taking more than 100 damage increased to 20%, up from 15%. And they also did a ton of bug fixes. And that is both for the general game, the core game modes, and Stadium. But that was all of it. Quite a list of changes, especially in Stadium. And we know for a fact that we can expect hard fixes to come in, especially since 3 new heroes were added. Yeah, that's almost a given. In other words, make sure to subscribe. I'll keep you updated. But tell me, what do you think about all of these changes? Let me know in the comments. For now, however, that was it. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. It always helps me out. I also want to thank my patrons and YouTube members. You too can become a member over on patreon.com/theomnicpost and right here on YouTube to unlock exclusive rewards. If you have a few minutes left, maybe check out one of my other videos. But above all, take care of yourself, take care of each other. Bye bye.